Hey there, Internet! Welcome to another 5-minute wine lesson with Los Pinos Ranch Vineyards. My name is Duncan. I'm the brand ambassador here at Los Pinos, broadcasting today from our beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas tasting room. And what we're going to talk about today is something that is very near to any wine professional's heart, because this gets really overlooked and is critically important when it comes to the wine experience, and that is wine storage. And I'm going to give you the easiest way to make your wine bottle last as long as possible once you've opened it. Okay, so there's a couple things that happen once you've opened the bottle of wine that you really need to be aware of if you're, taking bottles home, like most of you who've been to our tasting room have ended up going home with a few bottles, and that's to get the best drinking experience possible for as long as possible if you don't happen to sit down and drink the whole bottle in one sitting. So, not that that doesn't happen, because, hey, we've all been there. Now, what we're going to talk about, first of all, is oxidation. Oxidation is a fancy word that is something that happens once your wine, it can happen in different parts of the wine making process, but we're talking about home wine drinking, once you have opened a bottle of wine like this Chardonnay, you notice there's no cork in there anymore, there is air actively attacking the wine inside of it that is dead set on turning it into vinegar. All right? Now, a little bit of that air makes the wine drinking process very nice. That's why you have decanters. That's why you pour a glass and swirl a little bit to let a little air contact happen. Let the wine breathe, because it's in this airtight bottle before then, to avoid oxidation. But then once you open it, get some air out. That's very good. However, this is the number one way to ruin a bottle of wine, or at least make it last a shorter amount of time than it can last. Because say, maybe you live alone, and it takes you a whole week to drink a bottle of wine. Maybe you Monday to Friday, you just have a glass a night. I strongly recommend one of these air evacuators. There's a bunch of different brands that make them. They're very cheap. Here in Texas, you can get them at Specs for, I think, $7. And what this does is removes the oxygen from the bottle. Okay? So, once you've had your glass of wine, or however much you're going to drink, you just insert here, and this pump, just pump it till it's tight, and it gets hard to pull up, and that removes the oxygen from the bottle, and that's going to make your wine last at least twice as long, and it's going to taste fresher every time, whereas if you just put the cork back in, there's still air in the bottle here, and you're gonna notice each day it's gonna taste less and less fresh, and after about the third day, it's not really gonna taste very good anymore. So that is wine storage tip number one, to avoid oxidation. Get some sort of an air evacuator. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. There's argon gas, but this is the cheapest and easiest, and it's what we do here at the tasting room, that will make your wine go a little bit further. All right? The second one, the other thing I'm going to talk about, is temperature. This is one that has really broken my heart a couple times when I've been invited to parties at like really fancy houses, and they just don't know much about wine storage. So I've seen really nice bottles of wine that are being stored on the outside patio, or there's a wine rack right above the gas range stove. And the problem with that is heat is the enemy. If you think of wine cellars, you think of cool, dark, damp places. That is for a reason. Really, anything above 72 degrees is going to impact the amount of shelf life of a wine, and anything warmer than that, like, don't ever put wine in the trunk of your car, especially here in Texas. If you got really hot temperatures, you can kill a bottle of wine in just a couple of minutes. And so temperature is really important. So if you've got any bottle of wine, I recommend storing it in a place that doesn't have direct sunlight. That's super important. Second one, it has to be climate controlled. Preferably, like, the cooler the better. Most wine cellars, professional wine cellars, are around 55 to 60 degrees. So that's optimal, but at home, as long as you keep it in a place where it's under 72 degrees, you're going to be fine. But yeah, heat is the enemy and oxygen is the enemy. So if you are at home, go ahead and get an air evacuation system and just make sure those bottles aren't in direct sunlight or having any direct heat applied to them. All right? And that will make your drinking experience much more enjoyable for longer. Cool. So, hope that was informative and helps you guys along your wine journey a little bit. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're enjoying these videos, it really is super helpful for us. If you follow our YouTube page, like it, leave a review, share, all that good stuff really does go a long way. And if you find yourself here in the Lone Star State, we would love to see you here at our Fredericksburg Tasting Room or at the winery out in East Texas. In Pittsburgh, we've got a winery as well as a restaurant out there. But either way, however you can stay in touch with us, we really appreciate it. And until next time, cheers.